Hi everyone, I'm just going to give you a very quick tutorial on how to install and use Stable Diffusion on any computer. So you don't need a powerful computer here. We'll be using Google Colab, which allows you to use Google servers, which are free of charge, and they're like a medium speed of a medium-sized desktop, so that's pretty good. And you can use Stable Diffusion from anywhere. So I'm going to give this short presentation, and in a couple of minutes I'll have you up and running. First, you need an account on Hugging Face, huggingface.co, which is the open source community that hosts a lot of the data models for Stable Diffusion, and it needs to download stuff from there. So you need to create an account here, and then you need to make an access token. So you sign up. In my case, I've already signed up, so I'll just log in. And once you're in, or once you've made your account, you can go here to settings, and then in settings you go to access tokens, and in access tokens you will create a new token. For example, call it doohickey Stable Diffusion. Doesn't really matter what you call it. You can leave it on read and then generate a code. So now we have this code, and you can copy it by clicking here. Just show it. You see it's just a string of characters. You can copy and take it with you. So now you're done here. And then you go to the Google Colab. I'm using the doohickey diffusion model. You can really use any that are there. The link to this one is down below. So you can use this as well. And this is a nice and complete one. So with the doohickey, what I'll do is just run this first step. So you say run anyway. What happens is you need to install and do a couple of things, but nothing happens on your computer. This happens on that Google server. So you need to do this every time. So here I paste that token that was copied from there in this place, and then say login, and then ask me password, don't save it. And then here it says login successful. Alright, great. So now it has a little green check mark next to this play button. So we're going to go through all of these things step by step, and then it's going to execute them. And this one is also done. Go, let's run it again. So it starts downloading all of the stuff onto the server and install them so that you can then use it. So because you're using Google Colab, what's important is to ensure that you don't time it out. So if you go and get a cup of coffee while it is not doing anything, there's a risk to time it out. So don't leave it too long, because you're going to have to go through all of these steps each time again, which takes some time. So it's good to kind of have a working session, just to sit down and work with it and keep attention on it so that this server doesn't time out. So here we wait for a second. Most of these are fairly quickly. Some of them, like this one, can take a little bit of time because it has to download like 3.4 gigabytes of data, which is actually the entire Stable Diffusion version 1.4 of the AI system. So really that's all of the pattern recognition of all of the research that was done, which is quite amazing. So we'll wait a little bit longer. We are not going to have any model customizations now. All of that's for once you start understanding how the system works, you can start playing around with those things, but in the beginning it's not necessary. So wait a second more. Okay, now it's filled up, and then it should have a green little check mark right here appearing when it is all done. Okay. Yeah, so here we go, green check mark. So now we'll go down, don't need this. We don't need this cat toy, which is inserted as an example. We don't need it here. So just leave it blank and then press the button. It'll start running. Okay. Alright, it didn't like that I kept it empty. That's fine. Run the conversion, load some styles, which is fine. clip related functions, and now we come to the generate tab. So now everything is done, and now you can start giving it a prompt like polar bear on a mountain under the stars. Okay, so we keep this the same. Just for the sake of speed, we'll set this to batches to 1. So what this is the size of the image. I recommend to initially not really change that. It's of course nicer to have a higher resolution, but it's not exactly how it works. If you make the resolution much larger, like 1024 by 1024, what will happen is that it will start to kind of tile content, and the composition is not always very nice. So best to leave it there. You can change this a little bit to change the proportions of the image. Then this is how refined it will get. So the higher this number, the longer it takes, and the more detailed and the more it will keep on refining what it does. So if you keep it low, it will become quite crude, and if you go high, you can get all kinds of nice details. It's usually good to test with a low number and then increase the number as your description is more accurate. Number of batches is how many images it generates in one go. And the rest of it you can kind of ignore for now. So now when I press the button, play, it should start to run. So we should see here a progress bar now. So it's sending this stuff to the system, and as you can see, it's going fairly quickly. We only have one image at 50 steps. So it's filling each one of those steps now, and in a second or so the image is going to appear here. Let's wait for the display. So that's our initial polar bear, and as you can see, it's not necessarily a super nice polar bear or not necessarily a super nice icing. So I have some work to do to refine this, also by inserting negative items, such as, for example, deformed. I don't want it to be deformed. I also don't want it to be an illustration. I want it to be a photograph. I don't want it to be abstract, and I don't want it to be well, what do I not want it to be? Well, I think that's good for now. I want a photo of a polar bear on a mountain under the stars. So this is how you then start interacting with the system, playing around to see what results you get. Adding a name of an artist or some kind of cultural reference point, like a website or a magazine that has the sort of image that you're after, is often a very powerful way to get closer to what you're trying to achieve. So, well, we're still a little bit deformed, but you do see that this is more photographic than the other one. Now, if you want to save this image, you can just right-click on it and save it, or open it in a new tab, and then you have it right there. So, here you go. Just don't let it time out, and you should be good to go.